Just started the entire podcast and realized my microphone wasn't even on. Okay. Hi, guys. It is me, Alex, your host of Alex Film Thoughts. Welcome back to another episode. Today's episode, as you can see from probably the title, is a behind the scenes chat on building my brand. So, yeah, let's just riff on that basically. Okay, firstly, it's really hard to explain what it is specifically I do as a coach and as a mindset coach and a mentor, because there is so many aspects to being a coach. The space I hold, the expansive conversations, and the things I teach on just range from so many different things, because you don't actually realize how many different aspects of your life all revolve around the mindset that you have. So when people ask me, like, what actually is it that you do? Like, what do you teach? What is being a coach? What is being a mindset coach? It's really hard to like settle on one thing. And like, there's so many, I guess, there's so many opportunities in this space as well. Sorry, I keep looking at my hair and my hair does just not look good. It's short and it's been cut. Well, I say cut, it's like shifted up into like a really small bob because I did a really deep condition. And yeah, it's stressing me out because it doesn't look right. Anyway, back to what we're talking about. So a lot of people ask, like, what qualifications do you have? And in terms of this career and this life, being a coach, so much of your qualifications are the things you've been through, the way you lead yourself, and the authority you hold on the things you talk about. So, like, it's just about building trust, really, that my clients know and the people that consume my content know that anything I'm talking on is something I have experience on. It's not something that I've just picked up one day and thought, oh, let me talk about this, with having absolutely no authority on the subject, never being through it, that kind of thing. I don't know if you like listened to my episode with Maddie, but we were talking about her experience with some mental health issues, and there was something she brought into their space that I would never be able to speak on because I've never experienced it. And it would be silly of me to try and talk on that because I can't talk from experience. I can't say how it is I dealt with something and how the best way to move forward for me was, or some modalities I've used to get myself out of a space and into another, because I've never experienced that thing. So much of this work also is having a level of awareness that, okay, there are some people that I can't advise for things on, and there are some people that are my perfect ideal client because I have been through those things. I know the exact way and the type of healing work it takes to move through some things. And yeah, so when people say like, okay, well, what do you do? Like, what is being a coach? What is being a mentor? It's so big a realm that even just pinpointing one fact of like healing or doing mindset work or doing shadow work or like anything, building a brand, like there's so many different aspects to being a coach and being a mentor and having your own brand and business that you can't really just sit there and say, okay, here's the list of things I do. But yeah, it basically encompasses so many things that I can't even count them. And I'm really on a process right now of building my brand. And I wanted to bring you guys along on this podcast series, because I think one of the most important things, like if you wanted to follow this path, is learning from experiences what to do and what not to do. And that's really what I want to bring to this part, where like sort of touching on where I find my influences, who I learn from, why I learn from them more specifically, less about who it is and more like why I learn from them, why I've built that trust, and like why I feel safe to learn from these people, and like what lessons I've learned from them and their lessons, and how it's going to help me do better for my business, for my brand, for my life. And then I kind of want to also talk on like my trajectory. Can I even speak today? Clearly not. Every time I record a podcast episode, I'm just fumbling over my words. And also the results I expect for myself. And I want to do another episode on this because there's just too much to talk on. But I'm a very delusional person. And I wasn't always. I was very much a cynical, realist person who didn't really like to see the joy in anything. And I've slowly trained myself, because you can actually do this. You can train yourself to do pretty much anything. I've trained myself to become delusional, and I've trained myself to call things to me and receive things that I never would have thought possible, simply because I was delusional. But I want to talk more on that in like a specific podcast episode about being delusional. So the results I expect are a result of my delusions and of me dreaming and implementing in a way that I know I'm going to get that result. There is nothing going to stop me from getting there. And it doesn't matter what anyone says. It doesn't matter what anyone thinks. It doesn't matter what objects, oh, guys, I can't talk. Obstacles come in my way. It's still going to happen. It's still going to get there. So, yeah, that's basically what I want to talk about within this series, within this podcast. So, I think, like, first, I kind of want to talk to my brand. So, for the longest, like, probably since I was like 14, 13, I've wanted to be an influencer, in the sense that I wanted to be a content creator specifically for YouTube. I didn't really love Instagram as a platform in its earlier stages. I like it much more now. TikTok wasn't a thing. What was TikTok called even? It was like a piano app or something, wasn't it? It was like a singing, like a karaoke. It was a karaoke app or something. TikTok wasn't even a thing then, so that wasn't even in my spectrum of potential content creating. But my one true love is and always has been YouTube. I have been neglecting my YouTube channel recently, simply because I've had so many assignments and so many deadlines for uni. But I'm trying to get back on my grind in the last couple of weeks of term before I graduate. But yeah, so YouTube is my first true love, and I really wanted to be a content creator. And as I've shifted and evolved over the years, and you'll hear snippets of my story across this podcast. I got a podcast with my sister called Voice Notes with my sister. If you want to know a little bit more about my personal life too, you can listen over there, and I can tell you some stuff over there. As I shifted into becoming a coach and becoming a mentor and utilizing my skills and my expertise and my knowledge to be able to provide these kind of services for other people, it kind of like clicked in my brain that I don't have to separate the two, and it's actually not possible for me. For some people, it's entirely possible. They can separate their coaching from their life, from their other content creation, from their content consumption. For me, that's not really realistic, because I love coaching. Coaching brings me energy. It brings me joy. It brings me so many like emotions and experiences and opportunities that I never would have accessed otherwise. And it just lights me up in a way that nothing else does. So that is such a key aspect of my life now, that my business and my love for coaching are interlinked. But also on the side of that, I love creating content. And that is also one of my other passions. And separating the two is just too hard. So from now on, I made the executive decision, being the CEO of my own business, that my brand is going to be being a coach alongside being a content creator. And I will content create for my business, and my business will create content for my content creation, if you see what I mean. They kind of intersect. So from now on, from on my YouTube and things, I can document about building my brand and talking about that there, whilst also having a space for like the fun stuff, like going to a concert that night or whatever it is I want to film that's part of my life and part of my business, is going to be across all my channels. It's not going to be you just find my personal life on YouTube, you just find my business on my podcast, that kind of thing. So that is really where I'm taking my brand right now. And it's really just going to be integrally me. Like, you aren't going to get anything but the most authentic, honest version of me across all of my platforms, talking about all the things I love and all of the things I'm learning, and sharing everything that I can to help you uplevel your life and step into your power and become the best version of you that I know you can be, because what else is there really to get out of this life? Like, yeah, money is good. Yeah, fame is kind of cool sometimes. Yeah, all the rest of it. But you only get one life to exist as you and to exist as the most authentic version of you so that you can feel whole and happy and joyful and content and angry and sad and all the human emotions. So why would I want to do anything other than get to that truest version of me? Is how I see it. Some people, maybe not so much, but for me, getting to my truest version and my most authentic version and my highest level self every day is just the most, I don't even know how to describe the feeling. I don't want to say enlightenment because that sounds a bit too far, but like, I just feel the most light. I feel the most honest. I feel the most empowered and embodied. Like, I just feel the most me when I'm doing this work. And I don't want to live any other way. So, my brand and every part of my content creation is going to reflect that. I get so worked up, I forget to breathe. It's such a bad habit of mine that I literally just stop breathing when I'm talk because I just get so excited and want to get all my words out at once. And then half the time, no one can understand me because I'm so heavily breathing because of my asthma. Anyway, so on to where I find influence, because I think that is probably the most logical place to start, because I think for a lot of us, we have no idea where to start. So my influences, my inspiration, and who teaches me these things is super important, I think. I find influence from people doing this work. I find influence from big companies and things I support. I find influence from the people around me. And I definitely find influence from people's mistakes. And I think that's something a lot of us need to learn from that we don't necessarily do. So I think learning from people's mistakes and like companies' mistakes and just general mistakes that people make and they talk about, I think we need to learn a lot from them, because that shows you realistically, like, okay, where are other people going wrong and where can I not go wrong to skip that step to get me to the place I want to get further, faster. So let me just name some people, because since I've been in this space for like 5 years, I've picked up a lot of people along the way and I've dropped a lot of people along the way, just from where I'm at in stages of my life and who is giving me what I need and when I need it. So around like 2016, 2017, 2018, it was heavily like Gary V. I still kind of love him, but I haven't consumed his content in like at least 2 years. So it was Gary V, it was Tony Robbins, it was Lewis Howes, Tom Bilyeu, it was, who else? Jay Shetty, Mel Robbins. I'm trying to think. Who else was it at the time? Yeah, anyway, you can kind of imagine the people I'm talking about. And their circle of people just kept expanding because they were doing workshops with other people, they were getting other people to create content with them, they were doing interviews with other people. So I kind of just kept picking up these people all the way around. And it kind of sounds male heavy, and I think it was at the time, because it was very much based on strategy. Like, I was very much consumed basically with strategy and how to build brands and business in the quickest way possible. So at the time, I think I was mainly focused on being a social media marketer, building my own SMMA agency. Or is that actually what it is called? SMMA? Social media marketing agency. Yeah, I wanted to build a social media marketing agency. So I was consuming heavily content specifically to building brand and building business on social media. So I have a lot of background and a lot of knowledge in building brand on social media. And that's really what I want to start implementing on my own business, because I have all this knowledge. So that is something that really heavily influenced me a few years ago. And then it kind of shifted over lockdown, because like everyone, I was losing my mind. I was losing my sanity. I was very low, and at some points it was kind of scary So I was like, okay, this has happened to me before. I had a really low point in about 2016, and I had another one in 2017, but it was worse. And it got to a point where, like, I'll be honest, getting out of bed was the biggest struggle. Getting myself even in the shower was nearly impossible. Getting myself to eat, to drink, like to do any basic human function was really difficult. And no one around me really knew how to help. So it was kind of up to me to be able to get myself out of this situation. And I knew I didn't want to stay in it. I wasn't a person that really thrived on having problems because so many people in my life around me thrived on having problems that it kind of trained me to not do that and to resent doing that. So I basically just forced myself into solution mode, and which is how I sort of deep dived into health, wellness, mindset work. And I did that sort of as a cyclical thing. I would really deeply dive into it, start journaling, start taking care of myself, start exercising. And then something would happen, stress or an event would happen, or something would go on in my life. And then I would revert back to the depressive episodes. And I don't want to call it depression because I think that minimizes what other people experience as depression for years on end. But I would have months and months of depressive episodes where being a basic human was just too difficult. And so then I would kind of hit rock bottom, as I guess as rock bottom as you can get at 17, and then cycle back around and launch myself back into the development work. And yeah, this basically happened as a cycle until I went away. I went to Thailand. It changed my experience of life. I got a whole new lease of life from it. I really realized that the only thing I want to do in life is travel and experience new things and new places and new people. Then I went to university, kind of got low again. You know, the world crumbled. We hit a Panny D. And the feeling that I had when I was 17 and trapped in my bed by my own mind came back. And again, I threw myself into the development work, but this time it stuck because I really actually did proper work on myself. And I started realizing the patterns and the beliefs and the subconscious training I'd put myself through and other people had put me through. And I don't want to be like blaming or like pointing fingers, but you know, as we exist as humans in this world, like people imprint on us and people train us as they want to experience us as other beings. So there was a lot of unconditioning I had to do, and there was a lot of realization of patterns and things that kept making me unhappy, but I was still doing because I didn't realize that there was a pattern going on. So yeah, I dived into a lot of that work. I've healed a lot within myself by myself. And I kind of got to the point where I was like, okay, I need more. I need help and I need a space for support. So that's when I started investing. And that is when I also found my love for being a coach, because subconsciously I started doing it for the other people around me. And I've always been a problem solver. I've always been a decision maker in terms of like passing judgment. I'm a Libra, very much part of my like personality to do this kind of thing. So I thrive in this work basically, but not in the passing judgment area, in like being neutral and being balanced and being able to provide an unbiased opinion and advice for people. I've always thrived in that. So that is basically where I found my influence over the years. And my influences have changed. I've got new mentors. I've got a coach myself. I consume a lot of like coaching from other coaches that do business and mindset work and healing and somatic work and sexual healing and money healing and all kinds of healing. Because we don't realize how much we are wounded as human beings and how many times we can have layered trauma over one specific thing. So yeah, that is basically where I found my influence. And I feel like I'm going to be rambling on, so I might stop this here and just have like, okay, this is the first episode. This is sort of my journey, my influences, and what I'm trying to do with these podcast episodes. So I'm going to stop here and I will maybe just stay on to record the next one, but you guys will hear it at a little later date. Yeah, I think that's probably best because I feel like otherwise you're going to be like, Alex, shut the fuck. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to stop here and I'll speak to you guys in the next episode. It has been so good just like getting this off my chest and letting you guys know like the actual truest part of me is that I love content creation and I love building brand and I love coaching. So I really hope you guys love all of my content. I really hope you guys love all of like the little chicken nuggets I give you and like the little pieces of value. And I hope they're really starting to make a difference in your life. And on that, I just want to say, like, if you're consuming this content, but you're not implementing anything, I promise you, as hard as it is to break these cycles, you will never go back once you see the other side of your life and how it can be when you don't let these patterns rule you. You don't let this inauthentic self stay in charge simply because it feels safer. Because if it's not truly you and it's not truly the most honest representation of you and people do or don't like it, you don't actually have to deal with that. So people sometimes feel safer existing as their inauthentic self because actually that's like, it's like a shield. If they don't like this version of me, that's okay because it's not really me anyway. And I lived like that for a long time and I don't want to live like that anymore. So that is why I do this work in this. That is why I have become a coach and a mentor because I know what it's like being trapped in that cycle and I know what it's like to break out of it and come to the other side. And I just want as many people as possible to be able to find the strength and power within themselves because it is all within you to be able to tap into that and come into this side of the world. And yeah, just really change your perception and your mindset to be one of growth and one of expansion and one of empowering and one of joy and all of the actual sides of human emotion instead of like the filtered fake shit that we constantly put ourselves through. So yeah, that is a little riff on behind the scenes of my brand and behind the scenes of my business. I will see you in the next episode. Okay, bye guys.